I'm actually going to make a prediction right here on the show.
Yeah.
That they will be returning to making, a big major motion picture. I think it's going to be the next Captain America movie. Drive-by movies you're watching.
Fresh releases.
Wait 1 second. Let me do that one more time. Sorry.
No worries.
Drive-by movies you're watching.
Fresh releases.
My name's Blaze.
And my name is James.
And this week, we're talking the brand new film to VOD, Something in the Dirt.
Something in the Dirt comes from maverick filmmaking duo Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead as they offer up a twisted reflection of our paranoid times in this inventive mix of buddy comedy and sci-fi thriller. That's an interesting synopsis. I wonder who the heck came up with that, because it definitely does not summarize the movie. And if you're expecting us to summarize the movie, you came to the wrong video. But you have two guys who really enjoy these two filmmakers' work. Favorite film of theirs by far is Spring, but The Endless is fantastic. What was the movie? Their last movie that they did again with new Captain America and 50 Shades of Grey guy again? Synchronic.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, Synchronic. Yeah.
Yes, Synchronic. Yeah, decent movie, but I more appreciated that movie for its ambitiousness, and it was still very well told. But overall, wasn't their best work. But I was happy that they were getting bigger actors. But here they are, return to form, putting themselves in the movie with not a whole lot within the budget, but still telling a grand tale or story. And what are your first initial thoughts on it, Blaze?
So yeah, I thought that this film was very interesting. I think the synopsis actually that you read is very flawed, and it almost shows that they couldn't even, whoever it was that was set up to write that job couldn't even write it, where they had to sell the filmmakers more than sell the movie. A synopsis should entirely sell the film. It shouldn't sell the filmmakers. So I think that that's almost a sign of weakness right there. But I mean, I thought this film was fine. I think we've been doing these guys have I think Synchronic was very ambitious. This is obviously a COVID movie, so I'm not going to go super hard on it. But I do think that we're kind of Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, huge fans, but I feel I want to see another kind of Spring movie where it's wild. It doesn't have to be so totally inventive or anything as what they're kind of currently doing, but just something where it's almost a return to form. Maybe doesn't necessarily need to go horror. I know that they've kind of been going more towards the sci-fi route, but I feel like they're kind of just constantly going back to riding the waves of Resolution, essentially. The Endless is a sequel to Resolution. This film had very similar themes, I felt to Resolution, where the movie that you're watching, the audience is being almost, I don't know, it's still dealing with mediums almost, I felt like.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this film, James?
Yeah, I think it's one of my favorites of the year, but did I understand this movie? Not completely, but I was just mesmerized by overall the dialogue. I was like caught off guard. I started it pretty late at night, and I think I was like 90 minutes in, but it felt like it had only been going for like 20 minutes just because I was so captivated by just how natural Moorhead and Benson's dialogue is and how well they get along with each other. Like, they're a duo that I can watch act in like a lot of movies, and I know that we've seen Justin Benson in like a couple of horror films outside of films that he's actually like worked on. Most recently, I remember was After Midnight. I own it right there, so I was just looking at it for a second because I forgot the title. But I thought he had a very minor role within that movie. But honestly, just seeing them act is just like so fun to watch. And whether or not you like these characters or not, I thought it was like mesmerizing getting little information. Like, watching this kind of felt like I was watching like a weird documentary special of like unsolved mysteries or something, but just the reenactment were just really well told and really well done. Like, I would have liked like overall, like, I guess a better resolution, but you don't really get that with Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. Like, if you've seen Spring, you don't really get an overall great resolution within that movie. The Endless, same situation. I haven't seen their first film still. But Synchronic also, that film had a little bit more of like a wrapped up nicely ending for the most part. But this one, even though it wasn't shot during COVID, I know that overall they like came up with the premise during COVID, and it was almost filmed as if it was a COVID movie, just because there's not really a whole lot of locations and not really a whole lot of actors within the movie. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I know it's not for everyone. I know if you're a huge fan of Moon Knight, and if this is the first movie you're checking out by them, you probably don't like them for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That is interesting, actually, that they went to do the like foray into, I don't know if it would be like, I guess major like studio work, you know, and then come back to doing something that's like entirely different, where it's very like, I still feel like Endless had like a bigger budget than this movie, at least, you know, like this is a very homemade. And I think that that's the most fun about the movie, is the fact of how homemade it is. It's really well done. But then also I love the aspect, like you had mentioned earlier, where it's like these two friends you're seeing on camera that are making a movie together, and they just like vibing, you know? So I think that that was the most fun element to watching the movie.
Yeah, and I was expecting it to go more in a horror direction for the most part, just because like it feels very eerie. And while the film is eerie overall, and of course like these characters descend into like overall pretty dark path towards the end of the movie, but you know, it never goes that full pull like, oh, what the hell kind of moment within the movie. Like I was waiting for it to happen, and we did get it with the Endless, and of course you get it with Spring as well, and even Synchronic too. Just all their movies always start pretty low key and just like are set in a very realistic world, but then something fantastic happens. Yeah, with this film, definitely it's a lot more low key. Not a whole lot of special effects are needed, and so it worked well with that in that aspect, and like, you know, translated well. Like this isn't a movie for everyone, but just like I wonder how it premiered at festivals and stuff. Like I know it got rave reviews for the most part, but just like I haven't really looked too much about it on what people were saying, but just the fact that, you know, like these are the guys who did Moon Knight and nobody was like advertising it for this movie. It's just shocking to me, and surprised that it didn't get like a bigger release, just because I know that Endless overall did get a lot of people's attention for the most part, despite it being a very small film. But this film, like, you know, I feel like has all the right pieces, but just maybe it's just too indie or low budget for mainstream audiences, and that's why it's kind of left under the rug right now. I don't know.
I think it has to do with just the landscape for film has changed so much since the Endless was released. I feel like when the Endless came out, there still was like, it felt like there still was an excitement to going to the theater, and this is now post-COVID. I feel like that's kind of changed, at least my outlook. Like I know that's changed for me, but like the just even the vibe I get online, yours is probably different, I feel like, than mine, but I feel like that's the vibe I get from a lot of people, like that going to the movies isn't so much like a thing as it was maybe when like the Endless was released. I remember seeing the posters for it in the theaters and stuff, and seeing the trailer. I mean, they're more indie theaters, but I still remember that was like more of a thing back then.
Yeah, I remember when we saw the Endless in a like probably like a 20-25 seat theater, and you know, it was probably like half full with like 10 or 12 people. Like 10 or 12 people sounds like a filmmaker's nightmare at a theater, because it was like such a small, intimate screening. I remember it still felt busy. But yeah, I haven't been to any of those like indie kind of theaters as much lately since COVID, like you're mentioning. Like I remember when the both of us saw Mandy, that was a packed, sold out house at an indie theater. And the last movie I kind of saw like that, I think, was Simon Barrett's Seance, and my girlfriend at the time and I were the only ones in the theater. And just like, I hope these kind of movies are doing well still, if they are playing. But I mean, I'm a terrible film fan, I guess, but also I'm a sucker for if it's on demand. Of course, I'm going to see it that way.
I don't think it's so much that the level of like the films or level of like just how good stuff would be in theaters. I think it more has to do with the quantity of how much stuff is out there currently.
True. Yeah.
There's just so many shows on streaming or movies that are released, and there's so many different streaming services that it's really hard for people to, you know, invest in a couple of those and then still have time to drop $100 going to the theater, you know, just once, compared to having like 5 different streaming services and a multitude of options that can't get interrupted. It really just has to do with that, I guess. So, I mean, clearly these guys have gotten the opportunity to work and they've gotten notice and gotten opportunity to work with other studio productions, including Disney. So I don't think that like the level of success that maybe this movie might find at its current state, or maybe if it finds it at a later date, I don't think it's really going to impact their careers that much, to be honest. So I think that's at least the benefit to look at.
Right, yeah, and you know, like I said earlier, also this movie got great reviews, and I can see them still being happy doing stuff like this. I mean, of course, as you make it as a filmmaker, of course you want to move on to bigger budget things, and you know, doing a Marvel TV show, you know, maybe it's not a movie and stuff, but I hope like, you know, that helps them still continue to do movies like this, or go back to movies like Spring, or even Synchronic, which wasn't my favorite and stuff, but just still, in my opinion, like Moorhead and Benson haven't done anything bad. I'll watch pretty much anything that they'll put out, except for Moon Knight, I guess, just because I still haven't seen that. Yeah, let me know if I'm missing out on that. Have you watched that one, Blaze, at all?
No, I'm not gonna watch any of the Disney. I'm not gonna watch anything on Disney Plus. Like,
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not for me. I don't want another streaming service, and you got to watch all those things to get anything. I'm not gonna watch any of the Star Wars stuff, the Marvel stuff, whatever. But I'm actually gonna make a prediction right here on the show.
Yeah.
That they will be returning to making, you know, a big major motion picture sometime in the future, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm making this prediction because I think it's going to be the next Captain America movie. I'm calling it right now. Guaranteed. Think about the last Captain America movie, 2 directors.
Yeah.
Here we have 2 directors. Anthony Mackie is obviously pretty close with these guys.
True.
To my knowledge, he is the new Captain America, correct? I don't know that much about it, but that's at least the vibes I've been catching. I don't, like, forgive me for not knowing if that was really the case, but I can almost guarantee he will throw their hats in the ring, and that's my prediction. Maybe it won't come true, but that's kind of what I feel will happen.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you know, if you've been watching us forever, we can care less about filmmakers going on to Marvel movies and wish that they kept doing original projects. But hopefully they'll remember to just keep producing other great stuff and still keep writing and making movies like this. But yeah, let us know what your overall opinion on this movie is, whether it should have been called Something in the Dirt or Something in the Light, or The Door Won't Shut. Was that what it was, or something like that? Or or what you thought about the movie, like overall, like what it meant to you, just because this is definitely a very open-ended film. But yeah, leave a comment, let us know what you thought about the movie, and be sure to rent it through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of your latest updates.
And if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, check us out on all our social media links down below for Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and Letterboxd accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.